Channel. Tomorrow is Sunday, November 12th, week 10 of football. In this video, I'll be sharing two 5-man picks that I'll be taking. Most of them will be under fantasy scores and receiving yards. So let's get started. And we'll get started on fantasy score. And my first one will be Travis Etienne, Jacksonville running back. For him, I'll be taking his fantasy score, even though there is multiple props that are good, such as rushing yards and receiving yards and receptions. But for this matchup, I do like him going over fantasy. He's going to be a main target for the Jaguars to have a chance to beat the 49ers. And I think Travis will be one of those key guys. So I'll be taking his fantasy score. Next up, I'll be taking Derek Carr. He's been doing fairly well for his new team, the Saints. And I'll be taking his fantasy score at 14.5. He's been averaging about 18, 19 a game. Past two games, he's gone well over 20. So hopefully he does continue the trend. He does have a favorable matchup against the Vikings. Next up will be Baker Mayfield at 15. I also like the value here. Should be a good matchup against the Titans. So I think Baker should get to 20, if not more. Next up is Dustin Hopkins. And for him, you can take either his kicking points or fantasy. Obviously, we're taking the fantasy here at 6.5. He's been well, averaging about 8 or 9. I'll be taking the over on that. And my last one will be a passing yards attempts. Let's get over there. And it'll be Joshua Dobbs, Minnesota QB. And I'll be taking his pass attempts, which is at 32.5. It has been bumped. It was at 32 when I got it, but it's at 32.5 now. I still see him going well over. I think he's going to get over 35 against the Saints. He does pass a lot. He does average about 36 to 38 passes. So I'll be taking him over. So this is my first 5-man. Travis Etienne, Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, Dustin Hopkins, all over fantasy, and Joshua Dobbs over pass attempts. So my second 5-man will go straight to receiving yards. And this slip will be all under receiving yards. First one is Gus Edwards at 0.5. Many of you would think, well, it's be a free square. It may be, but at 0.5, I mean, it can't get any better than that. But it's not a guaranteed lock. But at 0.5, it's hard to pass up. So I'll be taking his receiving yards at 0.5. You want to look at his past 5. I mean, he's been climbing. So at 0.5, it might be a trap from Price Picks. Not sure. But all he needs is one catch. He is the running back. But I will be taking him at 0.5. If you want, you can take his rushing yards. It's also good, but at 0.5, hard to pass up for me personally. Next up, we're gonna head on over is Foster Moreau at 3.5. This is another one hard to pass up, so I'll be taking him at 3.5. So the reason Price Picks is taking some time to load, but if you want to look at his past 5, I mean, he's been getting a couple receptions, so he should easily clear this line at 3.5, especially going against the Vikings. So I think you'll get that opportunity. Next one is Dontavian Wicks at 12.5. This should be a good matchup, and I see him getting several receptions, which he should definitely clear this line at 12.5. If you want to look at his past couple of games, he's been heavily used. He's definitely going to be heavily used against the Steelers game, so I'll be taking that. Next up is Michael Wilson, 35.5. Been averaging over 50. So I think this is definitely going to get bumped close to 40, closer to game time. At 35.5, it's good value. I see him going over 50 yards against Atlanta. So I'll be taking the over on that. And my last one for receiving yards will be Jaycon Jennings. Did I spell that wrong? Let's see. John Jennings. Sorry, mispronounced that. 15.5. Been averaging over 30 in his past couple of games. Should be a good matchup here too against 49ers and the Jaguars. He should get a couple receptions. He's at 1.5. It's good. I think it's going to get bumped to 2. But if he can get at least 2 or 3 receptions, I think he can clear this line of 15.5, which I think he'll get. And those are the 5 I'll be going with. Gus Edwards, Foster, Dontavian, Michael, and John, all over receiving yards. So mix and match, pick your favorite. Those are the 2 5-man slips I'll be taking. I know they're not star players, they're underrated players. Some of them are just role players, but I just like the value on them. And I think everybody puts their money on big star players, on passing yards and rushing yards and so forth, on fantasy scores. I'll be sticking to the role players. It's done for me in the past, done well for me. But mix and match, pick your favorite. You don't have to tell all 5. You just pick the ones you want. They're all good value. I think most of them will hit. If worst case scenario will be 4 or 5 slips, but it should hit. So good luck. Please like, subscribe, and comment. I should have my NBA video out. Most of those games will be starting early tomorrow. See you guys in the next one.